Hello, I'm Mindy Moon, and I'm here to discuss teaching functional skills to students with developmental disabilities. What is a developmental disability? According to the CDC, developmental disabilities are a group of conditions due to an impairment in physical, learning, language, or behavioral areas. Specific developmental disabilities include attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder, autism, blind or severely visually impaired, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, learning disabilities, moderate to profound hearing loss, seizures, and other developmental delays including speech and language impairments and traumatic brain injury. Multiple disabilities means having simultaneous impairments, the combination of which causes such severe educational needs that they cannot be accommodated in a special education program solely. With these populations, it is important that functional skills are a focus of their curriculum. Functional skills help promote successful transition for students with disabilities. Functional skills are all of those skills students need in order to live independently. The final goal of special education should be for our students to gain as much independence and autonomy as possible. The most basic of functional skills are self-feeding, using the restroom, and making simple requests. Students with developmental disabilities and significant cognitive or multiple disabilities often need to have these skills taught through a breakdown of modeling. Living independently requires some skills which are considered academic even though they do not lead to higher education. Those include life skills, functioning academic skills including math and language arts, community-based instruction, and social skills. Math skills include telling time, counting and using money, balancing a checkbook, measurement, and understanding volume. Language arts includes reading as simply recognized symbols, such as moving on to buses, reading signs, or reading for directions. For many students with disabilities, they may need to have reading text supported with tapes or adult readings. The skills a student needs to be successful in independent living out in the community often have to be taught in the community. So with that comes community-based instruction. These include using public transportation, shopping, making choices in restaurants, crossing streets at a crosswalk. Too often with their parents, their desire to protect their disabled child overfunction for their children and unknowingly stand in the way of giving their children the skills they need, making community-based learning a part of a student's educational experience. Social skills are usually modeled, but for many students with disabilities, they are needed to be carefully and consistently taught in order to function in the community. Students need to understand how to interact appropriately with different members of the community, not only peers and teachers. Teaching strategies include systematic instruction. The goal of systematic instruction is one of maximizing the likelihood that whenever students are asked to learn something new, they will already possess the appropriate prior knowledge and understanding to see the value and learn it efficiently. The plan for instruction is that systematic is carefully thought out, builds upon prior learning, is strategic, and builds from simple to complex, and is designed before activities and lessons are planned. Instruction is across 5 components. Learning targets should be reviewed for each concept taught. Students should have a clear statement of what the focus will be of each lesson and how they will know when they have achieved that learning target. They should be written in a language that students understand and is appropriate for them. An example would be, I can describe my emotions by giving an example of what makes me happy. With sequencing, determining which prompts provides with students. You want to give students the least amount of system, more information, and most amount of assistant or enough to perform a skill or behavior correctly. Sequence prompts from least to most, beginning with independent level, and progressing to increased insistence within the hierarchy. With this, you may want to ask the following questions. Which types of prompts have been successful in teaching students new skills? Have the students been taught how to use this type of target skill before? What types of prompts have been most successful when teaching a student with a variety of skills? If the learning target has been successfully taught to other students, what was the most sequential way? Does the student use the learning target skill correctly when each prompt is used separately? Scaffolding is the next teaching strategy we'll discuss. Instructional scaffolding is a process through which a teacher adds support for students in order to enhance learning in the aid of mastery of a task. The teacher does this by systematically building on students' experiences and knowledge as they are learning a new skill. Just like scaffolding in the picture, how we picture it, where people build upon knowledge. As students master their assigned task, the supports are gradually removed. Modeling. Modeling is the way of teaching someone an action or process. Instead of saying, for example, yes, please, you might model the behavior by always saying please yourself and having the students learn by watching what you do. When people are trying to learn new skills, they must get some information that tells them whether or not they are doing things right. Learning in the classroom is no exception. So we must be very specific with giving students feedback in order to help their learning. Some important keys in giving feedback is always be specific. Give the feedback as soon as possible so that it's relevant to their learning. Address their progress towards reaching their target. With developmental and multiple disabilities, it is possible that some of your students will have communication disorders or disabilities. As with all students, it is important to encourage positive interactions and model appropriate behaviors. There are a lot of technology options available for students with communication disorders. Again, as an educator, it is important that you incorporate their devices into every lesson and make sure they are using them correctly. All teachers should have a behavior management plan set. Provide students with a structured schedule to keep them on track. Finally, keep all professionals, administration, and parents aware of what is going on in the classroom. Consistently progress monitor and share all of the feedback with others. In conclusion, there are so many strategies for educators to use with students that have developmental disabilities, multiple disabilities, and communication disorders. Many of the ones we discussed today are things that I am sure you already do within your classroom. As an educator, is it important to reflect on what works well with each student and make modifications as necessary. Thank you for your time.